Hey everybody, this is Joshua Tucker, the tendonitis expert. And in this video, we're going to talk about what actually causes neck joint pain. When you have neck joint pain as opposed to muscle pain, you often end up with things like facet joint pain diagnosis and corticosteroid injections directly into the joint and other kind of invasive things. Rest is absolutely always prescribed. Like if you just rest your neck, it'll get better. And such might be the case, but the problem becomes, well, what happens when the pain doesn't go away? Then you really need an answer to what actually causes neck joint pain. So let's talk about 3 factors that cause neck joint pain. But before we do that, let's talk about the anatomy just a little bit. So obviously there's a cervical spine, and this is where the neck joints live. Between each vertebra, there's joints. On top of that, you have various layers of muscle, big muscles and small muscles. And what you don't see in this picture is connective tissue. So this muscle is wrapped in connective tissue, and this muscle is wrapped in connective tissue, and this muscle is wrapped in connective tissue, and this one. And then you have big sheets of connective tissue wrapping all of it in various different ways and shapes, etc. Point being, you have bone, you have muscle, and you have connective tissue. A closer look in at the spine from the backside. You have ligaments. Ligaments hold bone to bone. They're more like steel cables as compared to bungee cords in that they don't contract, they don't lengthen like muscles do. They're just relatively solid structures that hold your bones together. Bone to bone, bone to bone, bone to bone. Ligament is also what makes up the joint capsule. The joint capsule is the connective tissue, like ligament, that wraps around where joints actually connect. Facet joints specifically. And another view of the muscles. What I want to point out here is the function of muscles, or specifically for neck joint pain, the thing you need to watch out for with muscles. So let's say you have a muscle connecting here and a muscle connecting here. Essentially what that does is the muscle contracts and it pulls this connection towards this connection and vice versa. And you can get some side-to-side rotation as well. But point being, muscles contract and they pull their connections towards each other. And that means anything in between here can get compressed as these forces contract and compress whatever's in between. So this becomes pretty significant when you have a muscle connecting to this bone, for instance, and a muscle connecting to this bone, for instance, and the muscles are contracting and they're pulling the connections together, which means this joint here gets compressed and this joint here gets compressed. Realistically, what you have is a big muscle here and big muscle down on the back and the shoulder connecting, and they're pulling the entire cervical spine together. So they're compressing the whole thing. So you can either have specific joint compression, like muscles are tightening and specifically compressing just that joint, or you can have the bigger picture where the entire cervical spine is getting compressed and maybe 1 or 2 joints hurts, or 3 or 4. But what I want you to get here is the compressive forces of muscles being tight. So that leads us into the first actual cause of neck joint pain, which is muscle tightness. Muscles get tight, they stay tight, and they compress. So if a joint is getting compressed by tight muscles, then it's kind of constantly being compressed because muscles get tight and they stay tight. So that's one factor. Another factor, which you maybe could call a sub-factor, is nutrition. Lack of nutrition doesn't directly cause neck joint pain, but it absolutely contributes to neck joint pain. So for instance, one specific bit of nutrition, and there's others that do different things, but muscles require calcium to fire, to contract, and they require magnesium to relax. So when muscles are too tight for too long, they use up all the magnesium. Or if your body is just short of magnesium, you don't have enough. So you get stuck tight. Your muscles can't relax because they don't have enough magnesium. So imagine your neck right here. Well, let's just say here's a cervical spine, vertebra and a vertebra and a vertebra, and the joint here is compressing this joint right here, and this one right here is compressing to this one right here. Muscles are compressing that way. You're getting joint compression right here. You're getting joint compression right here. Muscles are tight. And as long as they're tight, this compression is going to happen. So you have to relax the muscles to get rid of the compression. Doctors, for some reason, don't quite understand that. They think if you have neck joint pain, that it's a joint problem. Well, it is a joint problem, but it's not. Let me rephrase that. It is a joint issue, but the joint itself is not the problem. The problem is the compressive forces. If you want to get rid of the neck joint pain, then you have to remove the compressive forces. Part of that is to relax the muscles, and to do that, you have to have adequate magnesium. Now, magnesium isn't the only nutrient involved in a neck joint pain dynamic, but magnesium is a necessary one because you can't relax muscles if you don't have adequate amounts of magnesium. That would mean that you're stuck tight, you're literally stuck tight, so the corticosteroid injections aren't going to work, the rest isn't going to work, the stretching and strengthening and the physical therapist isn't going to work, etc. A third cause of neck joint pain, and you're probably familiar with the term if you've ever been to a chiropractor's, is subluxation. Essentially, this means that your one or more of your vertebra is rotated around. So let's say this vertebra right here is rotated around to the right, let's say. And then, and that shouldn't be a problem because you move your neck around all the time, your joints move, your vertebra moves. The rotation's not the problem. The problem is the stuckness, the subluxation, which means your vertebra is stuck, rotated around. And so you go to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor will softly or forcefully yank your neck around to force that bone back into alignment, back where it's supposed to be. But what the chiropractor doesn't talk about is, well, let me phrase that. What most chiropractors don't talk about is the muscle tightness. Because what causes a vertebra to twist around? It's a muscle. One of these little muscles in here is tight, and it's pulling the vertebra around. And that's why it's subluxated in the first place. And then you have the compressive forces, this way and this way, that are pushing that vertebra that's twisted around down, so it's just kind of stuck, twisted around. It can't just get out. You can't just move your neck around and have it go back in place because the muscles are tight. They're compressing that rotated vertebra around, so it's stuck. So a trip to a chiropractor can be a good idea. The problem is if your neck joint pain is real bad, that means that the joint itself is inflamed. Inflammation of the joint. Now, an important thing to know about inflammation is that inflammation releases chemicals which enhances your sensitivity to pain. So then you have all this chemical floating around your tissue and deep down in the tissue around the bone, and it makes you hurt more basically. But specifically on the joint itself, this is a vertebra and its joint, and this is the other vertebra and its joint. You have all this little connective chemical that makes you hurt even more. This tissue right here is really dense, and when it gets that pain-enhancing chemical in it, essentially you hurt real bad. So if your joint is compressed and it's really painful, partly because of that chemical, then you don't want to get a chiropractic adjustment because it might hurt really bad to move that joint around. And of course the trick there is number 5, which is pain equals muscle tightness. So pain tells the brain there's a problem. The brain responds with tightness because, bless its heart, that's the only way it knows how to help you, is to guard and protect with tightness. So you hurt, your neck joint hurts, the brain responds with more tightness and more inflammation, which causes more pain, which causes more tightness, which causes more pain, and that's the downward spiral. So right here are 5 factors that cause neck joint pain. Whether you have subluxation or not, let's just arbitrarily take that one out of there. You can see that there's several factors that contribute. So if muscle tightness is a cause, and lack of nutrition is a cause, and inflammation is a cause, and the pain that's already existing is a cause of more pain, then you can start to see why the usual recommendations don't really help. The corticosteroid injection might help the inflammation for a while, but it doesn't get rid of the causes or the triggers of the inflammation. It doesn't help the tightness. It doesn't replete nutrition. And while it may help pain temporarily, the cause of the pain is going to come back because the cause of the inflammation is going to come back. And then you're right back where you were. That's why most of the things you've tried haven't helped, because they don't cover these factors. So, if you'd like to find out more about neck joint pain, go ahead and visit my website, tendonitisexpert.com, and find the appropriate page. And then, if you'd like to fix your neck joint pain, there's a process to it, and I recommend my Reversing Whiplash program. Everything that's involved with neck joint pain, the tightness, the nutritional insufficiency, the inflammation, that's all part of the whiplash dynamic. So it's essentially the same thing. That which causes whiplash symptoms causes neck joint pain symptoms. Same thing. So if you want to actually have an effective treatment plan to get rid of your neck joint pain, even severe neck joint pain, which you have to be careful and it takes some time and some effort, but you can reverse the causes that are causing that neck joint pain.